Every shower in Britain and America is fighting two separate battles at once, and almost nobody realizes it. That gray film clouding your glass is a mineral, not dirt, and that dark patch creeping into your grout is alive. Picture your own bathroom for a moment. The glass that never quite goes clear, no matter how hard you scrub. The corner by the tap where a faint pink or black shadow keeps returning within days of you cleaning it. Two different enemies, and for years now, most households have been sending the same soldier out to fight both of them, and losing both fights. Something changed in how we clean our homes, and it did not happen by accident. 60 or 70 years ago, a woman cleaning her bathroom reached for vinegar, for a bar of hard soap, for a stiff brush, and for patience, because that was what was in the cupboard, and it worked well enough. Somewhere along the way, the shelves filled up with bottles promising to dissolve soap scum in seconds, bottles that smell of pine and bleach, and cost more each year. And the plain truth is that a business built on selling you a bottle every month has very little reason to teach you a method that costs you a few pence and lasts a lifetime. I am not asking you to distrust anyone. I am only asking you to notice that convenience and profit tend to walk hand in hand. And the old methods, quiet and cheap as they are, simply do not advertise themselves. What you are about to hear is not a theory dreamed up for a video. This is a method built on chemistry that has not changed since Roman times, tested in farmhouse bathrooms and prefab council houses and everything in between, and it still works exactly the same way today as it did then. Let us start with understanding what you are actually looking at, because you cannot solve a problem you have misdiagnosed. The white, chalky, almost frosted look on your glass, your tiles, and your taps is limescale, which is simply calcium and magnesium that has been dissolved in your water supply. And every time water evaporates off a surface, it leaves those minerals behind, layer upon layer, the way tide leaves salt on a rock. Hard water areas, and much of England sits on hard water, particularly the chalk and limestone country in the south and east, will build this up faster than anywhere else. But no household is entirely free of it. The pink or black growth is an entirely different creature. It is a colony of mold, or a bacteria that thrives specifically in warm, damp, poorly ventilated corners, which is precisely what a shower recess is built to be. Here is the part most people never stop to think about. That pink slime in the corner of your bath is not dirt that soap can lift away. It is a living colony feeding on the moisture and the soap residue itself. So scrubbing it with more soap is a little like trying to starve a fire by pouring on more fuel. This is why the ordinary approach fails so often. People reach for a soap-based spray, which is designed to lift grease and dirt, and they use it against minerals and living growth, neither of which soap is built to fight. You end up scrubbing harder, using more product, and still looking at the same gray film in the same dark corners a week later. And the natural conclusion most people reach is that their shower is simply old, or their water is simply bad. When the truth is far simpler, they have been using the wrong tool entirely. Keep listening, because the second half of this video matters even more than the cleaning method itself, and it is the part that stops you from ever having to do this deep clean again. The method that actually works follows a plain sequence, and I want you to hold these 7 steps in your mind because the order matters as much as the ingredients. Clear, rinse, spray, wait, scrub, rinse, dry. Clearing means exactly what it sounds like. Take your bottles, your razors, your loofahs, everything off the surfaces you are about to treat, because you cannot clean underneath clutter. And a mixture like this works best on an open, uninterrupted surface. Rinsing first is a step people skip, but a quick warm rinse before you apply anything loosens the surface layer of grime and lets your cleaning mixture reach the actual limescale and mold, rather than fighting through a film of hair product and dust first. Now, we come to the mixture itself, and I want you to remember this because it costs almost nothing, and you likely have every part of it in your kitchen already. 1 cup of water, 1 cup of plain white vinegar, and 1 teaspoon of blue dish soap, mixed together in a spray bottle. The vinegar is doing the real work here. it is a mild acid, and mineral deposits like limescale are alkaline, so the acid dissolves them the same way it would dissolve the chalky scale inside an old kettle. This is simple, well-understood chemistry. Nothing mysterious about it. The small amount of dish soap is not there for scrubbing power. It is there to break the surface tension of the water and help the vinegar cling to vertical glass and tile instead of running straight down into the drain before it has time to work. And the blue soap in particular tends to cut through the greasy soap residue that sits on top of the mineral layer. Spray this generously across the whole shower and tub area, glass, tile, grout, taps, and do not be shy with it. You want an even, visibly wet coating everywhere you can see film or discoloration. And now comes the step that separates a mediocre clean from a genuinely deep one. And it is the step almost everyone rushes. You wait. Leave that spray sitting wet on the surface for somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes, untouched, doing nothing. And I know that feels like wasted time when you could simply be scrubbing. But this is the entire secret to the whole method. Dwell time is what chemists call it, and it means giving the acid enough contact time with the mineral to actually break the bond, because vinegar splashed on and immediately wiped away has barely begun its work, while vinegar left sitting for several minutes has time to properly soften and lift what has taken weeks or months to build up. Think of it the way you would think of soaking a burnt pan rather than attacking it dry. The chemistry needs time, not just muscle. And this single change, simply waiting before you scrub, is often the difference between a shower that looks the same after an hour of effort and one that comes properly clean in 15 minutes. Here is your payoff for staying with me this far, because this is not a vague promise, it is a specific, testable result. A shower door that has gone cloudy over several months of hard water buildup will typically show visible clearing within a single treatment. When the vinegar mixture is given its full dwell time, glass that was matte and gray coming back to something close to its original clarity. And that is the kind of before and after you can genuinely see with your own eyes the same afternoon you try it. Once your 5 to 10 minutes are up, take a non-scratch scrub brush or an old toothbrush for the grout lines and corners and work in small circles rather than long dragging strokes, because circular pressure lifts loosened mineral and mold more effectively than a straight scrubbing motion. And a stiff bristled grout brush in particular will get into the recessed lines where mold likes to hide. For the pink and black patches specifically, give them a little extra attention, because while the vinegar will not sterilize a surface the way bleach does, the acidity does genuinely disrupt mold growth. And combined with physical scrubbing, it will lift the visible colony from grout and silicone far more effectively than soap alone ever could. If you have a stubborn patch of mold that will not fully lift, a natural next step some households use is a stronger vinegar soak on a paper towel, pressed directly against the grout for a longer period, perhaps 20 to 30 minutes. Though do open a window or run your extractor fan while you do this, as the vinegar smell in a small enclosed bathroom can be quite strong, and you want good airflow while you work. Once you have scrubbed every surface, rinse thoroughly with warm water, working from the top of the shower down, because gravity will carry the loosened residue with it, and you want to flush that dissolved mineral and mold debris straight down the drain, rather than letting it resettle as the water runs off. And then comes the final step in the sequence, the one that almost nobody bothers with, and it is the step I most want you to remember from this entire video. Dry the surface. Take a squeegee, or failing that a clean towel, and physically remove the standing water from the glass, the tile, and the taps, rather than leaving it to evaporate on its own. Now here is the deeper truth of this whole video, and it is more important than the vinegar, more important than the dwell time, more important than any product you could ever buy. The real secret is not how you clean your shower, it is that you stop letting water sit and dry on it in the first place. Every single drop of water that dries naturally on a tile or a pane of glass leaves behind a microscopic layer of mineral. And every day that layer sits there in a warm, damp room is another day of ideal conditions for mold to take hold. So the entire cycle of limescale and mildew that brings people back to scrubbing every few weeks is caused almost entirely by water being left to dry where it lands rather than being removed. This is why a household that squeegees their shower after every single use, every person, every time, will often go months between deep cleans, while a household that never squeegees will find themselves fighting the same gray film and the same dark corners again within a fortnight of their last scrub. It costs a few pounds for a decent squeegee. It takes perhaps 20 seconds after each shower, and it is, without exaggeration, the single most effective thing you can do to keep a bathroom clean without chemicals of any kind. Alongside the squeegee, keep the ventilation going after every shower, whether that is an extractor fan left running for a further 10 or 15 minutes, or simply a window cracked open, because mold needs damp, still, warm air to establish itself, and moving air that carries moisture away denies it exactly the conditions it needs. In houses without modern extractor fans, which describes most older English cottages and a good many houses built well into the last century, people relied on simply leaving the bathroom door open and a window ajar, letting the steam find its own way out. And that plain habit did more to prevent mold than any cleaning product could have. Alongside the daily habits, build in one short weekly clean rather than waiting for the buildup to become a deep clean emergency. A quick 5-minute pass with the same vinegar spray, wiped over rather than left to dwell at full length, is usually enough to stop new mineral or mold ever getting a proper foothold. Think of it the way older households thought about most of their domestic work. Little and often, a few minutes a day, and a few minutes a week, rather than letting a job pile up until it demands an entire afternoon of scrubbing on your knees. There is a wider habit worth mentioning here too, and that is simply wiping down your taps and shower controls with a dry cloth once a day, because these are metal fittings, and they show mineral spotting faster than almost any other surface in the room, and a dry cloth costs nothing at all. One more small point on the mixture itself, because people often ask whether it is safe on every surface, and the honest answer is that vinegar is an acid, so while it is excellent on glass, tile, grout, and most fittings, it should be used with a little more caution on natural stone surfaces such as marble or limestone tiles, since the acid can etch and dull stone over time. So if your bathroom has natural stone, test a small hidden patch first, or simply use plain water and a soft cloth for those particular surfaces instead. Take a moment as well to think about the drain itself, because a fair portion of that lingering damp smell in older bathrooms comes not from the visible surfaces at all, but from buildup just below the plug hole. And pouring a little of that same warm vinegar mixture down the drain once a week, followed by hot water, helps keep that hidden buildup from becoming a problem you cannot see coming. When I think about why this particular piece of knowledge faded out of ordinary households, I do not think it was because anyone forgot it. I think people simply stopped being taught to pause, to notice, to spend those 20 seconds with a squeegee, rather than walking straight out of a steamy bathroom and shutting the door behind them. We live busier lives than our grandparents did in many ways, and it is easy to see how a small daily habit like drying a shower gets crowded out, replaced instead by an occasional frustrated scrubbing session and a bottle of something expensive bought in a hurry. But what strikes me most, turning this over in my mind, is how little was ever really needed. A cupboard staple, a cloth, a few minutes of patience while the vinegar does its quiet work, and the willingness to dry a surface rather than simply walk away from it. That is the whole of it. Nothing hidden, nothing complicated. Just knowledge that was once so ordinary nobody thought to write it down, because everybody's mother already knew it. If this has been useful to you, there are more methods where this one came from. I share a new one every day. The old ways are still here. You simply have to know where to look for them. Before you go, I would genuinely like to know how you get on. So if you try this on your own shower, come back and tell me in the comments how long it had been since your glass was last properly clear and how it looked once you gave it its full 10 minutes to work.